It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us today. Ken Zoll from the Verde Valley Archaeology Center is with us. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Every time I have you here, we've got all this great progress going on.
Yep, always something.
There's got to be one person I have in on March. March is Archaeology and Heritage Awareness Month, and Ken is just the perfect candidate to have come in and talk with the Archaeology Center and everything going on out there in Camp Verde. Maybe we could start with that real fast, just a brief update on how things are coming along out there.
Well, we have, obviously, the property has all been settled, and we've been doing what's called a field survey. We've been walking the field almost like a police line, picking up what's called a 100% collection survey. And we've been marking, GPSing every piece of pottery, tool fragments, whatever, for the entire 15.28 acres. And the purpose of finishing that, well, first of all, to determine whether or not there are more features, underground features, than had previously been discovered. But also in May, we have Eastern Illinois University coming out with a graduate class, and they're going to be doing ground penetrating radar and a number of subsurface testing. They have one test where they can look underground and find carbon footprints where there were fire pits, for example. Oh. And so those should coordinate with where ground penetrating radar finds the walls. And so we will have essentially an underground map by the end of May of the entire property. That'll tell us also where we can build, where we can't build, where we might have to excavate prior to building. And so by the end of May, we'll have a very good idea what's there and what we'll be doing and where we'll be doing it.
That's exciting, huh?
Very much so.
Yeah.
As part of our archaeology fair, we'll be talking about in a second, we are doing van tours of the property. So once an hour on Saturday, we'll be taking a group of 12 in this van over to the property if they want to see where the future museum will be and the auditorium, etc. Okay. Hopefully as an inducement for a donation.
Okay, all right, very cool, very cool. Now, the first thing we wanted to get out today, there is something coming up this Saturday. And I wanted to call it like an antique road show, but that's not what it is. But you do want folks to come in with their artifacts if they have any.
Right. It's basically called an Archaeology Roadshow. It's patterned after the Antique Roadshow. The only difference really is that we will not be giving any monetary values to things. So we will have Dr. Bostwick, our Director of Archaeology, who was the archaeologist for the city of Phoenix for 23 years. He'll be here. Dr. Doug Gann from Tucson with Archaeology Southwest will be here. And then Kim Spur, an archaeologist. She's actually an archaeobotanist, and she deals in bones and things from Flagstaff at NAU. So the three of them will basically be able to cover the entire state, so people can bring items in. We're designing it hopefully for people that have collected things in the Verde Valley over the last 100 years to bring things in. We're hoping that families that have been in the area for a long, long time, we hear these stories about that they have in their barn or in their basement, in their garage, they have all these collections that their father, grandfather might have picked up or buried or dug up or whatever over the years. We're hoping they'll bring them in. Just let us look at them and let us tell them more about the item, because there's so much private land still in the Verde Valley. We know there are ruins on the properties. We know there's artifacts on the private properties. They obviously don't want people running around looking at their property. So as a result, there's missing pieces of information about prehistoric life in the Verde Valley. And so we're hoping these families will bring some of the items in, let us look at them, photograph them, we'll tell them more about them, and it might help us fill in some pieces of missing information about prehistoric life. So this is the first trial. We're going to do this one time, see how the response is. If nobody shows up, we probably won't do it again. But if we have a few people that show up and bring some items in, we might do this once a year, maybe every 6 months. We'll see how it goes.
I think people might be concerned that maybe the item would be taken from them.
Not at all. There's no way. We've talked to the Forest Service, Park Service. They could care less. This is stuff that's been brought up perhaps years ago, maybe legitimately, illegitimately. We don't know. We don't care. They don't care. We're all basically looking for the same thing, just knowledge, information about the area here. So there's not going to be a Forest Service ranger in the back room with handcuffs waiting to jump out. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to try to get people to be more relaxed relax and be free with this information, because once in a while we hear these horror stories about people saying, well, I don't want to be hassled, I might as well just break it up, destroy it, get rid of it.
Ooh.
That's the last thing we want.
Right.
At a minimum, you can just drop it off at our front door anonymously, you know. But we're hoping you'll just bring it on in, and if we get through this successfully, a few people come in and bring their items in. Others, you know, next time we do this, we'll look and say, well, Fred didn't get arrested. I guess it's safe to go in there. You know?
Right.
And so it's building a trust with the center that we hope we can build upon. And so nothing at all to fear. That's the whole idea of this, is to break down that hesitancy or fear.
Be nice too, maybe someday down the road those items would be donated to the...
Well, that'd be nice. You know, it's not something we're going to be pressuring or asking about, but we also hear stories about people saying, well, I have this collection, and my grandkids, I know when I die, they'll put it on eBay, and I'd rather them stay right here. Well, that's fine. We'll tell them how you can do that during this opportunity. So
yeah, that's the point I was bringing up right there, is you know, if you want to get it someplace where it needs to be, that's why you've got the whole center started to begin with, was to keep things here at home.
Exactly.
Our history here at home.
Right.
So what kind of pieces of information would you mentioned it might have some answers for some of the gaps in our prehistoric history. What kind of gaps are we looking at in there?
Well, there's the time frame is the biggest issue.
Okay.
You know, well, when were people here? When did they do different things? Some of the pottery and other things that come in here, we might be able to date. We might find that there's a lot more of a certain type of pottery that are in the area here than we ever thought before, which might indicate to us a bigger trade route. For example, there might have been a trading station. There's big debate about one particular ruin that we found a lot of pottery there that comes from the Globe area. So was that a trade center? Did those people come here, set up one pueblo, and just trade for things to bring back and forth? So there might be other quote-unquote trade centers on private property that we're not aware of. So the timing is basically the biggest issue, you know, when people were here, when they migrated, when one culture came and another came, you know, et cetera. The Verde Valley is, the debate over who was here continues to this day. For the longest time, they said this was the southern Sinawa. It was the southern branch of the Sinawa from the Flagstaff area, so because there was some similarity in the architecture or the burial methods or the pottery making. But the more information we've been gathering, now it's becoming to look more like a melting pot of people from the Flagstaff area, from the Phoenix area, from the Mogollon Rim area, even from the Colorado River area coming in here. So the more it's becoming, they're actually, one archaeologist is starting to call this a federation area. Because there's so much stuff here. And so the more items we can come in, the more items we can document here, it may further that particular theory that this was a melting pot of different cultures over a longer period of time than we thought.
I mean, it would make sense, right? It's the central part of Arizona, so I mean, it's the hub.
Exactly, and you've got a major river, you've got 5 and 6 perennial running streams through here. You know, you've got a lot of agriculture, you've got salt mines, you've got copper mines, you've got all kind of things going on in here. It should have been a much more bustling area than we have any record of today.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, let's take our first break, okay? VerdeValleyArchaeology.org is the website that gives you more information. 567-0066, the phone number for you. Ken Zoll, the director of the Verde Valley Archaeology Center, in studio today. This is Countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I bought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Archaeology Center Director Ken Zoll in studio today. The phone number is 567-0066. The website for you is verdevalleyarchaeology.org. The Verde Valley Archaeology Fair begins March 19th.
Yes.
That's coming up quick. It's with the Pecan and Wine Festival. There's all kinds of different things going on in Camp Verde, all kind of joining together for this.
Yes, the Verde River runoff on Saturday, kayak racing down the river, Pecan and Wine Festival in the soccer field behind the community center, and then we have the film festival. We have 3 archaeology films that we're showing Saturday and Sunday. We have the a small Native American art show in the community center, and we have about 20 booths on archaeology. And then in the town hall, room 106, we have a series of lectures from various people that we've brought in for both Saturday and Sunday.
Wow, so it's going to be busy. What am I going to be seeing? What am I going to see, archaeology-wise?
Well, the films, we have one film, it's called Talking Stone. It's actually on rock art that you'll never see because it's on a top-secret military base in the Mojave Desert.
Oh.
And so they got permission to go in there and record the rock art and show what that's about. And it actually turns out it's the oldest rock art ever found in California. So there's a film on that. We have another one on the fur trade of Canada. It's a film from Canada. There was a film crew that went to the northern realms of Canada to record the fur trading of the Native Americans in 1919. And this film was shown in 1919 and 1920, and then they thought they lost it. And the BBC found it recently in their archives, and they went back and redid it from 1919 and visited some of the villages and people there. So it's kind of like an old and a new in this film. So that's really interesting.
Wow.
And then the one that we think will be most popular, it's called Chocolate Pathway to the Gods. And it starts with the importance of chocolate throughout the world. And for example, the Mayans, before they would sacrifice somebody, they would give them a drink of chocolate. And so they've traced the chocolate from the Mesoamerican time right through, actually they even show up in Europe and talk about the chocolates of today. So that's going to be an interesting film. These 3 films we show on Saturday, and then we repeat them at different times on Sunday if you want to see a couple of them.
That's all on the website?
That's all on the website.
All on the website, okay. VerdeValleyArchaeology.org.
Right, and you can download the program. And then lectures, we have lectures that range from what's called Little Sure Shot. It's about Annie Oakley and the end of the Wild West. We have another one that's talking, a professor from NAU is coming down to talk about the relationship of dogs to the prehistoric people of the Southwest.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
And then we have a professor from University of Arizona coming up, and she's going to talk about the first women archaeologists in the state of Arizona, which you don't hear about. Basically, every one of the famous archaeologists that are written up, their wives came with them, and they participated in it, but nobody wrote up about the wives. And so this professor comes up and talks about the importance that the women played in the early archaeology of Arizona.
Oh, that's neat.
So that'll be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all that's at VerdeValleyArchaeology.org. Now, before the show started, you were telling me about a film, and you were getting pretty excited when you were telling me, and it was a good story. You always got a good story for me, so I want you to tell me about this film that was found.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to give a lecture on that on Saturday, the 19th, 10 o'clock on it. There was, back in 1925, the Hopi were told by the Bureau of Indian Affairs that some quote-unquote church people were petitioning Congress to ban all Puebloan dances, not just the Hopi, but all Puebloan dances that they viewed as pagan. And so they wanted to know what to do about that, if there was anything they can do about that. So they approached the school teacher up at Second Mesa, and turns out he was also a Mason, a member of the Shriners down in Phoenix. And so he came down and talked to the Shriners, and they said, well, why don't you just bring them down here? Let's see what this is all about. And they had the Arizona congressional delegation there as well to see this. And we have photographs of them performing on the Shriner Temple. And so they all got together and they said, well, we don't see anything wrong with this. What you need to do is take these dancers and chanters across country and perform and make your way to Washington, D.C. Well, it turns out in 1925, they were also recorded, their chanting was recorded at the Altovar Hotel at the Grand Canyon by the ethnologist from the Smithsonian, Dr. Jesse Walter Fuchs. That became the first record ever made of Native American chanting. And then the Victor Record Company picked it up in 1927 and made it broadly distributed throughout the country. So these dancers did perform across the country, and in 1927, they performed on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. They erected a stage there. And they performed their various dances, snake dance, all the dances there. And we have photographs of like 5,000 people on the steps of the Capitol, on the roof of the Capitol, looking down at all these dancers. And when they were done, the Congress went back into session and passed a resolution that banned any interference with any Puebloan dancing forever. And so the dancing troupe was very popular, so they continued to perform across the country at different events, the New York World's Fair and other places, and eventually performed at Carnegie Hall in 1956 and 1957. And in 57, they were now performing for 30 years, and it was kind of like, well, it might be time to hang up my moccasins, you know, and retire. And so they made a film of them themselves in 1957 at Second Mesa. And the leader of this group, Milo Billingsley, took the film for the next 10 years or so across country and lectured on my life with the Hopi. He died in 1980, and nobody knew what the heck happened to this film.
Apache Junction.
He died in Apache Junction. He had he called it a trading post back then. It was an Indian craft show. And so so he died in 1980. Everything in his shop went to his housekeeper. He had no family, and so he left everything to her. She went into this antique dealer in Apache Junction, and he bought everything. And turns out the antique dealer retired in Camp Verde. And when the center got started, he came in one day and he said, well, I've got this film, these 1957 films, and on the case it says Lost Dances of the Hopi Cliff Dwellers. Could you guys use them? If they haven't turned to dust, they've been in my attic for 20 years. If they haven't turned to dust, you want them? And I said, well, sure, we'll take them. So
did you know what you were, wait, before you continue, did you know what you were getting your hands on?
Oh, no, I had no idea what these were.
Okay,
you know, it was Hopi, and it said Hopi dances, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So we took it up to Hopi, and we had it converted to DVD to see what they were, and the films were okay. And the Hopi knew all about them, who these were and what they were, and they said, no, these are okay. These are based on real dances, but they're really made for white entertainment. They're not that accurate, except for one. Okay. One was a little too sensitive, and so we never show that one. We don't even want to talk about it, but. So we had the films, we found a grant, a $7,500 grant that the Hopi and the Center applied for. We sent the films to Hollywood. They had them cleaned, restored. Archival copies were made. We set them, we have the archival copies. We gave the Hopi the originals, and we thought that was the end of that. But one day I get a call from my cell phone, says London, and I pick it up, and here's the BBC. And they had seen a little article in the Camp Verde Bugle about the film restoration, and turns out they're doing this PBS BBC special that's coming up in the fall on the first recordings ever made in America, all genres of music, everything from jazz to opera to whatever. And when they were talking to the blues people and the jazz people, and they were asking them about their influences, they said Native American chants. And so they said, well, we got to find a record, maybe the first record.
Right.
And here they find the Hopi dancing record, 1927, made by the Victor Record Company. And so they found in the National Archives the actual black and white footage of them dancing on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. And so they're incorporating that into this special about the first records ever made. And so they saw this Camp Verde article and says, well, we'd sure like to see what they looked like or hear them, because we're just going based on this one record. Can we come out and see it? So sure enough, the producer from London and the director from Scotland came out to my house and looked at the film and said, gee whiz, we'd like to use parts of this in our documentary. And so they, with the approval of the Hopi, we gave them this film, and the first showing of this episode has been going around the world at film festivals. And it's going to be at the Sedona Film Festival at Mary Fisher Theater on March 31st, 2 showings at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And the producer and director from London and Scotland will be there for a Q&A session. And so, so I'm giving a talk about it on Saturday the 19th at the fair at 10 a.m. And then the film will be shown on March 31st at Mary Fisher Theater Theater in Sedona.
Great
So, and then it'll be shown worldwide next fall.
Next fall.
Yeah.
Verde Valley Archaeology Center Director Ken Zoll in studio today. Phone number is 567-0066. Website is verdevalleyarchaeology.org. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Pre-diabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Welcome back to Countywide. We've just got a little bit of time left with Ken here this morning, and I wanted to hit one more thing with you before you take off for the day. But first of all, the website again is verdevalleyarchaeology.org. Phone number 567-0066. The Verde Valley Archaeology Fair begins on March 19th, and there's some stuff going on this weekend as well, so you want to make sure you visit the website. The real-time vandalism detection technology.
Yes.
You've got that.
We're going to be getting at that.
Okay.
The center, obviously, one of our main missions is protection of sites. And so we started a program called Verde Valley Site Watch. We're going to be rolling that out basically in the fall. We're working closely with Arizona State Parks and the State Site Steward Program. But a lot of sites are very remote. And we became aware of a grant the National Park Service gave to this company that is going to do real live detection of vandalism. It's a technology that was developed for the protection of our troops, for intrusion. They adapted it for wildlife poaching prevention, and now they're trying to adapt it for archaeological site protection. And so the first pilot of this grant project is going to be at the Bandelier National Monument. We contacted them, told them we're interested, and they said, well, how about if we come by you and give you a set, and you can test it out here. Awesome. And so this is a satellite-based system that can detect when people walk onto a site with shovels. It can do facial recognition. At night, it can do heat detection of trespass, and it's real-time monitoring. And we're going to be installing it by the end of March at one archaeological site that we manage for the Archaeological Conservancy. And if that proves out, we'll be buying a number of them and giving them to the Forest Service to put at different locations around the Verde Valley.
Great. Further protection for our stuff, our history. All right, Ken. Great to see you.
Great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming in every time you do. Verde Valley Archaeology Center Director Ken Zoll. Phone number again, 567-0066. Website is verdevalleyarchaeology.org. I'm Paul David. We'll talk to you again next time.